Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, no longer California, Los Angeles to be pseudo-specific. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, September the 2nd, 2025. And this right here is the TNAM Daily Show. See it in the corner of your screen? Brought to you by the new American media, because the old American media has failed you. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Look at that graphic. It says the Agree to Disagree Show. That's essentially what I used to call all of the news shows that I did and the interview shows. It was just all Agree to Disagree, the Agree to Disagree Show. Named as such because I think we can have differences in opinions, and we need to be hearing more conversations, not fewer. But, you know, there's a second part to that. We say seeking truth, challenging dogma, and having fun. Join us in the mostly civil conversation. You know, our regulars here, like, we get it. We're respectful of each other in our opinions. But we did have to address a situation where someone came in here and did not understand that part, that we require a mostly civil conversation. You can do your thing on your own time, on another day, on your own platform, but you're not welcome here to do that. You're welcome to have wide-ranging conversations. Agree to disagree. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. You just have to keep it mostly civil. And I think it's fairly obvious when that line is being crossed. So thank you to everybody who does understand that component, because that's what we exist for. Let me bring up the chat room. Hello, everybody. Hello, Marion. Hello, John. Hello, Kenneth. Thank you for being here. Quick programming note. I want to let you know that today at 6 p.m. Eastern time, guess what's happening? Come on. Can you guess? Strictly Football. We will have Strictly Football with myself and Mike Barra and Jim Mitchell and maybe Ezrael Robinson, talking about the NFL season coming up. Oh, dude. Hold on. I actually need to... Here, let me reply while I'm talking. Hang on. Hey, John. Got your message while I was mowing the lawn yesterday and forgot to get back to you. No, I'm not going to be able to jump into another league. Thank you for the invitation. I'm maxed out, and I probably should have dropped out of another one, but the draft happened accidentally, and I didn't have time to back out, so I just stayed in. So good luck filling that position, and feel free to post in the Unhappy Hour Sports Show group. Let them know you have one last spot, and, you know, that you have my blessing to post this there and fill it for the hospital. I'd love to see that spot filled. All right. One of our regulars invited me into a fantasy football league, and I totally forgot. I was mowing the lawn, and I scrolled past it. I'm like, I'll get to this later. And it's like, well, what's later? You're on to 35 other things, and you forget it. You forget about it. Like, I literally only just remembered to get back to him when I started talking to you. So thank you, everybody, for being here. And for everybody being linked up with the new American media and all the places. But yes, it's called the Agree to Disagree Show. That's the podcast. Please subscribe to that if you have not done so yet already. Por favor. All right. So on today's show, we're going to talk about Fauci and Big Pharma. Did Big Pharma lie to Trump and America? We're watching Europe. They're resisting the invasion of their nation. Sort of. But you're still seeing almost, it seems as though on a daily basis, and no, I don't think that's just because Elon Musk is magnifying it. I think what you are literally seeing is that a totalitarian group of tyrants, abusers, are looking inward at their own citizens and smacking them with canes, with sticks, grabbing them and kidnapping them, throwing them into cages for social media posts. There's this European, this English, this United Kingdom, Great Britain theory from a couple of people in power, not from the people. that you're supposed to roll over and accept that your nation is going to be invaded and permanently changed into something that it is not. And if you have an opposing position to that, you get to go to jail. We're going to kidnap you and steal you from your family. Well, that ain't right. It's not right. You know, there but for the grace of God go I. And we know there were dark times when Biden, the corrupt regime that seized control in 2020, there were 4 dark years there where you felt like you had an invading, occupying force literally in charge of your life, in charge of your country. It's not a good spot to be. It's not a good spot. So what do you do with that? Well, we're going to talk about it on today's show. And also, you know, the wars are continuing. They're just continuing. I don't know. Gaza's just raging on. It's going to keep doing what it's doing, it seems. Russia, Ukraine, thought we were trying for peace, but maybe not. Maybe not. We'll talk about that and more on today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree show here on the New American Media. And the show starts right now.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
That's right. Strictly Football tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Mike Barrett, Jim Mitchell, probably bring Azrael Robinson. And look forward to that. Join us on the show later today. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's get into the news. Hey, when someone says just trust the government, well, how about this one? Did you hear about the secret Cold War test in St. Louis? Well, guess what? You're about to.
Fog drifted through the streets.
Fog drifting through the streets. This is a News Nation exclusive.
Like a ghost.
That's exactly what it looked like, a thick fog.
It was summertime and it was hot. We would just run through it as fast as we could and try to just cool ourselves off.
U.S. Army admitted they were secretly spraying a predominantly black neighborhood in St. Louis with a chemical fog containing a known carcinogen to simulate a biological attack under the control of Democrats. Residents are now reportedly dying of cancer, and they allege that the government is still hiding documents.
Up to you.
The spray was so foul as far as the odor. It made some of us have headaches, nausea, dizziness.
That's what I remember. It made me sick.
It wasn't the weather. It was an eerie smoke descending.
You know what? I'm hearing music in the background. Anyway, so this is a St. Louis neighborhood. Check out this report. I heard the music. I'm just going to move along. But, you know, ask about the St. Louis fog. What flavor ice cream does Flava Flav like? He likes the flavonoids. Aren't flavonoids a food thing? Flavonoids? Anyway, it's a 2-3 minute video. Dom Luker, Breaker of Narratives. It's a report from News Nation. Check it out. It's on our Instagram feed. The music kills it for me every time, which is a shame because music should not be like that. Like now we're just like scared of music. I don't think the Art Recording Industry Association of America really thought through their copyright totalitarianism. Coming from a guy who worked at the world's largest talent agency in the contracts department. Like coming from a lifelong musician, like I'm not just some schlub with an opinion on something. Like, yes, I do have an opinion on what's going on based on the damage done to videos unnecessarily because irrelevant background music happens to exist. It's an opportunity to just put a tag on the screen if you want to click it to buy the music. If someone likes it, advertise, hey, what you're listening to here is available for purchase. Do that. Why would you delete a video from distribution across the globe? Use it as a chance to advertise, hey, listen to that. Or like you press the button and it'll just give you the exact track. If you press the button, it'll pause the thing you're watching and play you the official high quality sample. Why isn't this being done? Why are video? Oh, your video had copyright, huh? I go, what are you even talking about? I click it and I'm watching like footage of a tornado and there's something about natural disasters. And in the background, very quietly, almost indiscernibly, there's like tinkering on a piano as someone drives across a bridge that's been slightly mangled. Oh yeah, now you can't distribute your information now. Yep, now your show's blocked. We're just going to throw it down the memory hole. We're just going to throw this one in the trash. Thank you very much. Like, if that's your music, don't you want to maybe make money off your music and tell people, hey, press this button, listen to the highest quality sample of this music and put it on iTunes. Grab it. Buy a digital copy. It's an awesome track. Yeah, well, you didn't get permission for that. I have fair use exclusions. As a media company, I'm allowed to play segments of things so that you can get the context, and then I can provide original, transformative commentary on such matters. Look, it's this type of minutia that I have to deal with. I do occasionally talk to you about how the sausage is made, so they say. But holy shit, I wanted to play you that clip. I would have played you 2.5 minutes listening to how the Democrats in St. Louis gassed their black neighborhood, and maybe that's something we should learn from and go, what the actual fuck? Like, oh, it's to simulate a biological attack. Huh? For what purpose? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Anyway, now you know how the sausage is made. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, Greta Thunberg. Man, the memes are getting interesting. Looking like the prince from Shrek. That haircut. They pretended they were going to Gaza and they came right back. They did a 20-minute loop around. I don't know. It's just all so. All right. Dinesh D'Souza here shares Mandy Cohen, former head of the CDC, explaining her mechanisms for following the science. These are the media's indispensable health experts who are now being rooted out of the agency, mind you.
I would call, probably the person I called most was the Secretary of Health and Human Services in Massachusetts. She worked for a Republican governor just to, but you know, when she was like, are you going to let them have professional football? And I was really like, nope. And she's like, okay, neither are we.
Are you going to let them have professional football? No. Well, neither are we. Do you remember living through this COVID shit? It should have always been a prioritization of those most at risk. Peel back as much as possible. Let's alter what we can do and pool our resources on the people that end up getting it the worst. That's fine. We didn't need to shut everything down like we did. Irreparable damage done everywhere. And this is Mandy Cohen, former CDC head. That's how she got her info. I'm going to call and gossip with my friend.
So, you know, it was like conversations like that. So, or I'd be like, so when are you going to think about lightening up a mess? They're like, next Monday. I'm like, okay, next Monday. So I would call.
It's all peer pressure campaign. But look, we have to revisit. This is the disclosure we've needed. And it's all in focus right now. All right, here's Andrew Tate talking about Europe.
Understand what's happening. Europe is being imploded.
No, it's got that music. I think that music is usable. It says Europe is imploding on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. You do not accidentally flood your country with third worlders. You do not accidentally let crime run rampant, let drugs get out of control, tax all your rich people away, accidentally do these things. It is purposeful. because the rich people with the money are trying to destroy it because they're tired of Europeans with their high living standards and their pensions and their demands for holidays and working conditions. You know, it'd be easier if we just import a whole bunch of slaves and rule over them with an iron hand, but it will destroy the culture and history. Who gives a shit? Make money. With the money, we won't live in a shithole. It doesn't matter. We won't live in a shithole. Over here, we're going to live in Saudi Arabia. Kenya's beautiful. This is what he's saying. We call this plan the Obama Doctrine. 16 years of this stuff. Linked up with Soros and these other non-governmental organizations funding all this. Benny Johnson here. You know, I think we need to seriously address the problem of violence amongst the journalists. Like I said at the top of the show. Oh, shit, it still says agree to disagree. Let me change the... my kingdom for a producer, I tells ya. My kingdom for a producer. I said at the top of the show, you know, we have a base minimum of expectations. Yeah, I might call for capital punishment after being found either being found guilty by a jury of my peers or by military tribunal or some such fair mechanism. Yeah, I think the penalty for treason and traitorous behavior needs to be as prescribed in the founding documents. My calls for punishment are based on justice for criminality that's previously occurred. But Benny Johnson here, he was attacked. You know, a lot of people on the MAGA side have been attacked, and you know that shit is what let us get into this situation to begin with. I call out the wimpy whites, and I know because I went to the same high schools, I went to the same colleges, I was around the same people, and I watched and I listened how people in the big cities try to frame their opposition. How educators, indoctrinators make it uncomfortable for you to offer your honest opinion. And I listened to all sorts of gobbledygook in a couple of forced university classes, things that I had to take but to graduate. I didn't want to take. I would have never taken on my own. I forget the exact verbiage but it was the DEI class of the time. And I'm listening to all this gender confusion stuff that they're pushing. I'm like, this stuff doesn't, what are you doing? What is any of this? Just because you're up there doesn't make you right about any of this. And we've watched what the media does to people that get in the way. Oh, man, if Trump wasn't nearly invincible, I mean, come on, tell me. Tell me how many other Republicans could have survived what the media did to President Trump. What the Democrats did to President Trump, what the deep state did to President Trump, to try to absolutely destroy him. So we need to put an end to this political violence. It's some straight up bullshit. So New York Times wrote a hit piece on Benny Johnson. The angle of the story was that there was no proof that his newborn child was in any danger when our home in D.C. was severely damaged by an arsonist. So I'm posting proof here. I mean, his home is burning. Yeah, that's called danger. How dare the New York Times? How dare you? How dare you? Unacceptable. Deep state Democrats must be held responsible for their domestic terrorism. Oh, you say that. You're a MAGA guy. What about January 6th? The mostly peaceful protest where 600,000 people were encouraged to go peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. The place where some people did some things. What about it? It was an insurrection. It was literally an overthrow of our government. President Trump was president at the time. So if you're claiming President Trump was trying to overthrow President Trump, I don't follow. And are you trying to tell me that? What is the claim exactly from the J6 truthers? The truth is they were trying to overthrow the government. You mean The people that attended that event with an average gun ownership number of 5 to 10 personal tools per person. You're telling me those people all showed up to stage it? What are you saying? An insurrection? And none of them brought a weapon or used a weapon. That doesn't make a lick of sense, because that's not what those people were there to do. That's not what President Trump got those people there to do. That's not what President Trump told people to do. Peacefully and patriotically, go make your voices heard. He said fight like hell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some standard verbiage. I know. In the political realm, it's standard verbiage. Oh, Benny Johnson says this is the worst day of his life. He almost lost everything, and he moved his family to Florida swiftly afterwards. They lived in a row house, and the house next to them was a total loss. Both their dogs were burned alive in the arson. Our home was rendered completely uninhabitable due to damage from the fire. We had to live in a hotel for months afterwards. This is the DC security cameras capturing DC police using crowbar to rip my front door open. As neighbors scream, there's a baby inside. Black smoke from the inferno fills my child's nursery. Moments later, my terrified wife runs out of the home with our newborn in arms. Holy shit. New York Times still does not think that his wife or daughter were in danger. That type of dehumanizing propaganda actually gets people killed. From the celebration of the Trump assassination to the refusal to pray for the child victims of the Minneapolis mass shooting, the left's goal is never grant sympathy to regular Americans, even if they're innocent children, evil bastards. You should judge a man by his enemies. I'm proud to have the New York Times work so hard on a hit piece about me. It's a badge of honor and a rite of passage in this industry. But leave my children and wife out of it. My attorneys have notified the New York Times that we will not suffer defamation or libel against my family. Tread lightly. Florida juries don't take kindly to New York left-wing political assassins attacking innocent Florida children. Finally, I'm proud to fight with the Trump administration for the security of every American parent, no matter your background or politics. You have a right to security in your homeland, and especially in America's capital city. Stunningly, there are those who think otherwise. Remember, this is what we're fighting for. We said it's unacceptable, and the deep state Democrats must be held responsible for their domestic terrorism. Did you hear about phantom jobs? One of the biggest stories out there.
The biggest frauds we've uncovered.
This is Michigan.
In Michigan.
Doggone music. House Republicans found $5 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse in the state.
Identified $5 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse in the state budget.
A lot of people are very concerned. Oh my gosh, to have a budget that's under $80 billion, you must have had to gut a lot. Nope, we didn't have to gut. We just had to cut 4,277 phantom jobs. You guys realize what a scandal this is? People should be prosecuted for taking money that was appropriated to hire employees and using that money for another purpose entirely. Gender reassignment surgeries for prisoners. There are programs in there that don't even exist, and they're funding them. Like the Starbase. I mean, that was eliminated a few years ago, and they still fund it. We fund the arts and culture grants. They're real waste. I mean, you look at what they're glass blowing, barbershop quartets, all kinds of things, really. It's incredible. Things they got away with calling arts and culture grants. Winnie Brinks doesn't want to get in the room with me because I know the budget in and out, and I don't know it as well as Ann. So if they know, get in a room with Sarah Anthony. Okay, I'm trying to read this. It's
one of the biggest.
I once again had to stop it because of the music. Fake phantom jobs funding hidden programs for gender surgeries for prisoners, arts and culture grants for programs that don't exist. Where'd the money go? Hey, Hey, Democrats, where did the money go? Here we go.
Left the Democratic
This is Conspiracookie walking away from the left.
Party after a decade, because let me tell you, they became more hostile and more hypocritical since I left in 2021. Fast forward, here we are in 2025. On July 26th, a little bit over a month ago now, I went to a women's rights rally in Seattle. I wanted to record. Guess what happened? I was grabbed by a male Democratic politician who I had no idea was a politician at the time. His name's Devin Hermanson. He grabbed me in attempts to intimidate me into putting my camera down and going home, basically. He didn't want me to film in a public space, and he made that quite known. He tried to intimidate me into stopping, essentially, okay? Just
that reminds me of a video we got. Let me show you.
less than a minute or so after that, that's when one of the handmaids, Michelle O'Connor, spit in my face because I would not comply to her orders to stop filming and to take my mask off. And then just a couple minutes later, Dawn Lum, a University Washington coordinator, hit me with her sign purposefully. Now, these are the three that I have pursued charges against with the Seattle Police Department. I filed my report. Because it's not felony charges, it is going to take some time. I had quite the conversation with the Seattle police officer today, and let me just say they're taking it seriously, okay? But either which way, I went to a women's rights rally as a woman in Seattle, trying to freely express myself, or just exercise my First Amendment right, realistically, to record in a public space. I wanted to record their demonstration and share it with you guys. And if
you have the right to film stuff in public.
Anybody wanted to talk, I would have talked to them. But instead, they tried to force me to remove my mask. Me as a woman, they tried to dictate what I wore, where I stood, the actions in which I was taking, such as recording the event. And they were hostile. They assaulted me. They hit me. They spit on me. They tried to trip me.
Yeah, you don't get to do this. Like, this is just the basics of civility. Once again, you can have a difference in opinion, but you have to keep it mostly civil.
Okay? They called me all kinds of names, which I don't care about that. They're the ones that get all bent up about that sort of thing. That's why they do it. I'm be honest, some people on the right do that shit too, and I'm just like, if that's the first thing you do, it's like you've got emotional developmental problems more than anything else. And realistically, I don't envy you, and I do not view you as someone who is even mentally equipped to hold.
Anyway, you get her point. Let me show you this. This was at the Milo Yiannopoulos event. A Breitbart editor got assaulted by a Daily Show adversary. Blake Wally and I were here. I think Blake was filming this one, and I think that's what it was. I gotta close a tab here to get to that. 1 second here. Can I see it yet? Hang on. It's making me close another tab. I lost the screen. Where did it go? Okay.
You're totally welcome to stand here. Yeah, thank you. But you're not. Why can't I film? This is a public space. We have permission.
So what you have here, take a look. So this is let me go full screen. So what you have here on the right, is that guy wearing a beret? Oh, no, it's a baseball hat. I thought a beret would have been more awesomer. I said that intentionally. You see the body language here. The guy in the middle, the segment producer, he's outside of a Milo Yiannopoulos Gay Republicans for Trump event. This is on the campus of Cleveland State University outside of the 2016 Republican convention, where Trump accepted the nomination and whatnot. This is the Breitbart editor being assaulted by the Daily Show adversary, guy in the middle. I'd love to find out who that guy is and who this guy is and where they've gone since, but they were filming people for Comedy Central to try to trick them into answering questions that could be spliced and diced to make them look stupid. And this guy who was here filming, he's like, this is a public space. I can film wherever the heck I want. And I'm not going to let you make these people look stupid. take things out of context. I know your people. I've worked with your people. I know what you do, and you're not doing it at my event. And so his posture is to try to intimidate Joel Pollak, senior Breitbart editor at large, Joel Pollak.
From who it's fine. You don't need permission. You can film Cleveland State. It's a public university.
I don't need permission. It's Cleveland State. It's a public university. I can be here.
Public property. Okay, how about this? I'm totally welcome to hang out. I'm asking you not to film just because it's for the.
You're totally welcome to to hang out, but I'm asking you not to film. Like, he has no right to ask him of that. It's public space.
Television show.
It's for a television show.
We don't tweet photos of the studio or these other things. The reason we don't, put up clips online. See what I think.
So he's trying to tell him, well, I don't want you to leak segments of the show before we have a chance to put the show out. That's the claim. And Joel Pollak goes, yeah, I don't think so. What I think you're trying to do.
The reason we don't, put up clips online. See, what I think you're doing is I think you're ambushing people. And that's our party. I know, and I'm just saying right. Totally.
I think you're ambushing people.
Right. That's what I think you're doing. I can film you ambushing people. I'm totally entitled to do that. You're here, by the way, for our event. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, I can film you filming people. And by the way, you're here at our event.
We're completely honest with where we're from and what we're doing.
But you're not honest.
The guy in the middle. We're completely honest with where we're from and what we're doing.
With the people you interview.
Yeah, sir, we're completely honest with where we're from and what we're doing.
But you're not honest with the people you interview. Yep. You splice and dice.
But you're not honest with the people that you're interviewing. You splice and dice.
Many times.
Because I've seen it happen many times.
Like every single television show you edit. You edit to make people. You edit to make people look stupid. This is not.
You edit to make people look stupid. Because yeah, they're doing this. This would be used. Oh, and get a load of this. Get a load of this. Huh. We sent our Daily Show crew out to the outside of a Republican event. Get a load of this. Look at these dum-dums. He knows what they're doing. And he knows that he knows. And we know that he knows that he knows. So we started filming their interaction. Filming this interaction from a separate perspective. It's very interesting out there in the streets.
It's not your responsibility.
I can film you filming people at my home. No, you may not. We're not going to film it. You have no.
I can film. What? How did this go?
It's not your responsibility.
I can film you filming people at my home. No, you may.
I can film you filming people at my. Did they say event?
Filming people at my home. No, you may not. We're not.
No, you may not.
I'm not going to film it. You have no. That's fine. And you can do whatever else you want.
Okay, well, I'll stand here until 4 in the morning.
All right. Sorry. We're almost done with it, but it's not worth it. Have a good night. You had a good time. I don't know. I'm really just
You guys
look at this posture. Crossed arms, chicken wing back. But he's taller and he's trying to assert his dominance here. It's not going well.
Enjoy embarrassing whoever you like to embarrass. Conservative, gay, whatever. Do you want to talk to us? Okay, fine. The thing is, you actually don't, and you're inviting me to watch. No, you're inviting me not to watch. You're inviting all.
See, and there's multiple people filming this as well.
Have a good night. Have a good night. This is the Daily Show, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it's the Daily Show?
They can't.
Yeah, we didn't quite understand what we had walked into. Blake's like, oh, that's a Daily Show.
No, they're lying. They're trying to squash your First Amendment rights on public property. They can make
They're trying to squash your First Amendment rights on public property. That's what the left has been trained to do. They think they own the streets. They think that they can intimidate everybody that they don't like. It's really Gestapo tactics. It's not what America is. You're allowed to agree to disagree. You don't have a right to dominate and assert your dominance in situations that are public. You don't. You coexist or you go. You don't have a right to force someone else.
You happen to be gay. You're gay
So now he walks away.
and conservative. They're ready to make fun of you for being who you are.
Joel says, if you're gay and conservative, they're ready to make fun of you for who you are.
It's showing up to a Breitbart party and making up rules about not being able
Showing up to a Breitbart party and making up rules that you're not allowed to
to film on state property.
Don't on state property.
Step away. All right. We're gonna pack out. Public property. They can make fun of conservatives who happen to be gay. You're gay and conservative.
This is where he gives him the chicken wing.
For being who you are. It's showing up to a Breitbart party and making up rules about not being able to film on state property. Don't touch me.
He initiated physical contact right there with his left shoulder. He leans into him.
Party.
Got a tough guy.
Making up
Knocks
rules
left shoulder.
about not being able to film on state
right
property.
there.
Don't touch me.
Knocking his camera around. You don't have a right to do that. This guy totally lost his cool. Could have been fired. I don't know if he was or not.
You're gay and conservative. They're ready to make fun of you for being who you are. It's showing up to a Breitbart party and making up rules about not being able to film on state property. Don't touch me. Step away. All right. We're gonna pack out.
So now at this point, other people are trying to peel this idiot away from making a bigger mess of himself.
Yeah, let's just go.
Let's grab that. Yep.
But this was the story of the 2016 election. I said this a bunch. The story was that the masks came off. You got to see people for who they were. You saw Jimmy Dore spit in the face of Alex Jones. You saw the Breitbart editor assault the Daily Show producer assault the senior editor of Breitbart. They took their masks off and they were just angry. That was the story of 2016. The masks were off. We didn't have to pretend they were neutral or, equal opportunity. No, they were completely
Thank you, guys.
biased and angry. And look, one guy got the whole crew to shut down production. Just by saying, well,
To show people what they do. They wouldn't even let me film on state property where I have a right to be, where they have a right to be.
so he's explaining there. And then we do a walk and talk.
We do it 4 nights a week somewhere else. We're not doing it tonight.
All right, Brian Engelman here with the New American Media. I am with Joel Pollack. Let's see, Senior Editor at Large, Breitbart News. Joel, hi, nice to meet you in person.
It's 1 a.m. in Cleveland and I'm heading home. Let's cross the street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you were just filming. This was a
Oh, I should have introduced Blake there. I don't know.
Daily Show crew was set up, and you kind of jumped in to have a few words with them, and it got interesting. We witnessed it in your own words. What just happened?
Well, they were trying to sandbag people coming out of our party.
It's the Gays for Trump party.
Right.
There we go.
And it
Trying to sandbag people.
also turned into a free Milo event.
Right. And so what they do is, if you've seen
Blake, I was asking him for his answer.
some of what they do, is
Banned on Twitter.
film people, and then
Yeah, and this was right as Milo was banned on Twitter. Anyway, that's the video. Let me just put it on X. It reminded me of that, being in a public space and trying to shut down. We discussed here, share this tab instead. On today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show, we discussed the violent tactics of the left when they try to intimidate videographers in public spaces. Here's the whole video. If you want to watch that. Yeah, it's an issue. It's sort of what the left does. Anyway, this obviously reminded me of that. Yeah, we need to encourage more civility. Check out this awesome answer. This guy, You got Don Lemon out there dorking it up and doing a man on the street, but check this guy out. I love this guy's energy. Hello, Unholy Hoax, by the way. Oh, where's my comments? I need to put my comments back up. Sorry, guys. I made that full screen so we could see it better. Because, yeah, he got in front of him and he gave him a chicken wing. He gave him a shoulder. Kind of gave him the old, they call that the old San Antonio slap. Is that right, Unholy Hoax? That's Chris down there. And am I remembering it right? Chris down in San, wait, what is it? San Antonio. There we go. I'm going to go running through all the sands in my Rolodex. Anyway, here is Don Lemon trying to frame something one way, and this dude's like, I'm not having that.
I've been talking to are really, really concerned, and they're emotional. And
he's talking about the women he's been talking to. The people he's been talking to are very concerned.
I think a lot of them have a right to be.
Politicians aren't perfect. They're imperfect like everybody else. Trump's rhetoric isn't for everybody. His style isn't for everybody. We got a lot of good things done under Trump.
Okay, then what they did, meaning a woman's right to choose, is removed under Trump.
That's not the only issue in this world, okay? A percentage of the female vote went up 2%. So are those women crazy? I mean, it's not 50%, but it's high 40s, and he got that. So ask those women, like, they voted for Trump. So clearly it wasn't just abortion was the issue. Now, I agree. Even in very Republican states, pro-choice amendments have done very, very well. Okay, so it is a concern. I think most people are.
Pro-choice amendments have done very well in Republican states, is what he's saying.
Pro-choice, okay. But at the end of the day, like, there's a lot of people, there's other things. They're concerned about the broken border. They're concerned about crime. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about a lot of other things. So women are not one-dimensional. Men are not one-dimensional.
Exactly.
And so if you're upset about abortion, great. If that's your prime issue, then go live in a state that's pro-choice. If it's not your one issue, like a lot of people vote for Trump, you got other things to care about, and he'll fix those things. Not totally, but he'll do his best.
I think it's easy for you to say as a man.
Well, dude, it's easy for me to say about a lot of things. Sure, I'm not a woman. That's why I don't opine on abortion.
Women I've been talking to are real.
That's why I don't opine on abortion. You brought it up. I don't know. That was just a great energy from that guy. Nick Sorter reporting, President Trump may declare a national housing emergency this fall to address skyrocketing home prices in America, per Secretary Scott Bessent. This would ease regulation, prioritize the allocation of critical materials like lumber and steel for housing, and standardize building codes across the country to expedite construction time and lower costs, among other things. What do you think of that? I think it's a good idea. All hands on deck. Let's go. And maybe there's a way. Like, I don't want to get rid of all of our parkland, but like, aren't there some areas where we could build some new cities? Couldn't we figure out a way to, I thought New Mexico did it great in their Greater World Earthship community. They got 640 acres, 320 are for housing, and then 320 is for a public land that can never be touched. Like, they've locked in. The neighborhood I grew up in, the backyards that we had, they were narrow and deep, not narrow, but kind of like, I don't know, whatever, rectangle shaped. But all of our yards, all the way down the big rectangle, all the way down, they all backed up into woods. So we all shared a woodland. That was so cool. That's how you design nature into communities. Design some better communities. I'm all for that. Hey, here's one, Louis Sparks. What do you think about this one? Does that make sense to you? I'll F America like it's my wife's best friend. Ooh, Gavin Newsom. Too soon? I think, that should be my comment there. That should be my comment on this post. Wait. I thought Hunter Biden wore this shirt. Oh, wait. There were slight differences, but mostly the same point came across. I don't know. As I'm thinking of these comments in real time, sometimes I get way too wordy. I lose my perspective, and I'm like, meh. I just want to finish my thought, hit enter, and move along. So we will. But yeah, Gavin would totally screw up this country. He'd F America like it was his wife's best friend. All right, here's Tucker Carlson. You know, we've been told to trust the science, right?
So we're told there's no state religion in the West, certainly not in the United States, but in fact there is. It's scientism. It's the worship of science.
I represent science.
It's the belief that everything around us, everything we experience, can be measured by people in white coats.
There's music in the... Can you tell there's music in the back of this? It's just going... But that's a song.
The problem with this religion is that our life,
I hate this about YouTube so much. Our life, our daily experience contradicts it constantly. All of us are seeing, hearing, tasting, feeling things. They can't be measured by science, but it doesn't make them any less real. These are by definition supernatural experiences, are a feature of everyone's life. So what do they mean exactly? This guy was a reporter. He worked for the Chicago Tribune. Left, became a pastor. So he's religious faith, but also a grounding in empiricism, the desire to prove things. He's the perfect person to write the book that he did, Seeing the Supernatural. Mystical dreams, near-death experiences, miracles, ghosts. They sat down to hear how common these experiences are. That sounds very interesting. All right, that was an advertisement for the show, but I would watch that. Mike Cernovich, who we interviewed once or twice or three times. I'm trying to remember now. So Mike Cernovich writes, quoting Gene Raspail from the Camp of the Saints, says, quote, "Your universe has no meaning to them. They will not try to understand. They will be tired. They will be cold. They will make a fire with your beautiful oak door." This image here is allegedly of an illegal alien frying eggs in a pan on the eternal flame of the tomb of the unknown soldier in Brussels, Belgium. Excuse me. Where is the sentinel? Where is the guard to put an immediate halt to that? And can you deploy a guard there immediately? What are you doing? An unidentified Belgian soldier who fell in World War I is buried there, symbolizing all missing and unidentified fallen Belgian soldiers. Actually, that'll be my question. Where is the guard to stop this? Yeah, you don't have eternal flame without an eternal guard. You just rotate people through it, part of your service. Yeah, I couldn't, my comment at the bottom, just I couldn't be civil on that. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Ada Lutch says, hang on, you can't see that. There you are. If being far right means that I don't want to see 14-year-old girls be graped by foreigners in Europe, then I'm far right. And proudly. Ada Lutch. Here you go. Liz Wheeler has the answer. I kind of like this. Number one, give liability to Big Pharma for their own vaccines and ban Big Pharma commercials on TV, and you fixed your problem. Pharma won't sell vaccines if they're responsible for harm. Journalists will actually report on vaccine harm if their bosses aren't funded by pharma ads. And it's done. There you go. You're good to go. That's all you have to do. By the way, look at the bottom of the screen right here. If you want to get countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. Get your countervailing views. Yep. Why is it black? Wasn't it usually blue? Huh. That's different. So what do you think? Do you think Liz Wheeler puts us out in a way that we could get behind? You know what's coming. You know what I'm going to ask you, right? I'm going to say regarding Liz Wheeler, do you agree or disagree? give liability back to Big Pharma if they have products that cause harm, because then they won't be sold. And then ban Big Pharma commercials on TV. Then the journalists can report on it again. That sort of quickly solves the issue, doesn't it? Seems like it do. Hey, by the way, I want to give you an update on the account. We've asked for your pennies in the wishing well, and we're well on our way. Each penny is 1 hour of content watched. Yeah, our last 28 days, we've been up significantly. Typical range is 170 to 240, and we're currently at 525. So we're right on the verge of breaking through. Let me see. What are the... Let me check the comments. Gotcha. Okay, so we are close. We are just 3... Oh, wait, 320. 320 pennies in the wishing well away. 320 hours. And we can get our monetization back, at least insofar as, I think, what is it, subscriptions and super chats and something else. And then 1,000 after that, we'll be able to apply for advertising again. Whether we get it or not, that's out of our hands. But I wanted to at least cross that threshold because, you know, on a channel that's has 1,900 video views over 14 years and millions of views, you know, I'd sort of like to be making advertising revenue off of that, right? To pay for some of the expenses that it costs to deliver this program, let alone the whole part where you try to get earned for your career. You try to collect earnings for your career is what I'm saying, trying to say. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I like what Liz Wheeler here said. Make Big Pharma liable and ban the commercials, because then you'll have a system that it would probably magically heal itself. It could be that easy. All right, let's look at a surprise raid.
Raid. I know you've talked about this before, but how did they know that you were being raided? How did CNN know that?
Well, they got music in the background, but this is CNN New. Someone at CNN texted his lawyer and said, your client's been arrested. She sent a copy of his sealed indictment, which wasn't unsealed until 4 hours later that morning. Look at the metadata tags on the document. You see the initials of the man that wrote it, Andrew Weissman. The man that leaked it. It's actually a felony. So check that video out. We interviewed Roger Stone at the 2016 Republican convention in Cleveland as well. I mean, a brief walk and talk, but we were at a few things that he was at the middle of. But check out that report on O'Keefe Media Group. All right, let's check in on England. The UK. Let's check in on Europe in general. How you doing, Europe?
A small room where there was...
She says, they took me to a room where there was like a bed and a stereo.
Like a bed and a stereo and a wardrobe. And by this point, there's like more guys have come in. 2 of them have held me down. And they've all just took it in turns.
You just saw one example of a British girl raped by a gang of migrants. And you know what happened when she told others? She was called racist slurs. Most of you don't know this, but Britain has been hiding what may be the biggest scandal in modern history.
Oh my Lord. All of these invader abusers. And the men of this country have allowed it. The wimpy whites of Europe have allowed their country to be steamrolled. Absolutely steamrolled. We've called out the wimpy whites of the modern Democrat Party. When you have a surge of testosterone in your body, you have a protective force. You have an energy about you. You do the manly thing. I can't believe you're saying there's a manly thing. You're damn right there is. And stop unlearn whatever those radical Marxist indoctrinators filled your mushy little skull up with in your formative years, and in your eager desire to make them happy and to please master, you regurgitated what the bullshit they just told you. It doesn't make you smart. It makes you indoctrinated. I've blamed the wimpy whites for so many of the problems in America. Malcolm X blamed the white liberal for so many problems in America. It's this posturing. I am holier than thou. I am a white knight. I am the white savior. I shall get offended for everybody else, and I will shriek about things because I would theorize that maybe I would do such things if I were in that position. Therefore, I am virtuous and correct. Therefore, I want your money, and if you disagree with me, I will throw you in jail or commit violence against you. This is sort of how things have separated. Not every time, not with everyone. But the greater overarching themes, is it overarching or overarching? But if I asked you to tell me, how would you spell it different? Arc like Noah's Ark, or arch like the what do they call it in St. Louis Arch? So is it overarching or overarching? I think it's overarching. Did you watch the Ohio State Texas game with Archie Manning? Buckeye defense did very good. But look at all of these monsters committing crimes in the UK.
Over 1 million young girls.
1 million of their own have been abused by these invading armies of military-aged men.
Were systematically abused by grooming gangs, many from Pakistan. This wasn't an isolated case. It's widespread, and it's been going on for years. Authorities knew. Oh, the BBC didn't tell you? Oh, the Guardian didn't tell you? Instead of protecting the victims, they covered it up. And in fact, when British patriots speak up about it, they're often just sent to diversity training.
They're thrown in gulags if they say anything about it.
For even saying it. British fathers who try to save their daughters. Many were arrested by the police. Journalists and whistleblowers who try to talk about it had the media destroy them. And when a British patriot and family man, loved by millions of British people, as a hero, reported on it, Tommy Robinson, they sent him to jail. This isn't just a failure. They have betrayed the British people. And it raises a question I have for all of you. Why does the British establishment protect criminals instead of the British children?
We ask the same question of the Democrats. Why are the Democrats protecting the bad guys, not the good guys?
And this is why millions are looking at this as potentially the biggest scandal in British history.
You know, without Elon Musk's ability to put this story out the way that he has, I wonder how many fewer people would be talking about it right now. But it's vile. You don't allow your kids and your girls to get abused. And I think there needs to be an execution if you're going to break somebody's mirror. Someone gets their innocence only once and you break it, you break their mirror. No, that should be a corporal punishment. All right, let's talk about the main topic here. Disclosed TV has said Trump wants to know whether the mass injection of mRNA shots was brilliant or not. Asks Pfizer to show the public the great numbers that they showed him. President Trump says it is very important that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer and I want it now. I've been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and CDC, trying to figure out the successes or failures of the drug companies' COVID work. Hang on, what? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and CDC, trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug companies' COVID work. I think there's maybe an apostrophe there. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to the CDC and the public and clear up this mess one way or the other. I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter, President DJT. going to say it's time. It's time we hold Fauci et al. Responsible. And look at that. Look, Instagram blocked that story from showing. And let me pause it right there. No, let me go back for a second. Remember at the top of the show where I said, you know, the guiding thoughts on this subject, on this platform rather, is that, you know, we have a mostly civil conversation, and I told you about how we recently had, you know, something very unusual happen with really absorbing terroristic threats. That's not something we're used to doing, and we don't tolerate it around here. Three times to be specific. And specifically, the reason that was given is that I honestly, I don't really even understand the reason, but something about Bobby Kennedy, something about vaccines or Bobby Kennedy, or lies about Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., the vaccine, COVID, something like that. There's some sort of health lie somewhere. It's a very vague accusation, but it's a very angry, threatening, if you keep talking about this, you're going to regret it or else type shit. So yeah, that has been reported to the FBI, and that has worked in other channels. There are other people looking into this, and please feel free to try to help identify and dox that individual. You remember who I'm talking about. But we do have various people working on it, because that's not how we do things here. You make a point, and you keep it mostly civil, or you leave. That's it. But the coordinated campaign of violence, threats, intimidation, you're seeing it. You're seeing a shrieking, because when this is exposed, everything falls apart. Everything about 2020 falls apart. And my family was ripped away from me. Two of the four, mom and my brother, only sibling, only mother. Mom at the beginning of COVID from a respiratory situation, and my brother at the end of COVID from a respiratory situation. So, you know, it's easy to say this thing wasn't real, or it wasn't really, it was just the flu. And it's like, I know, I thought that too. I thought it was only for fat old people with pre-existing conditions. Yes, to a large degree, yes, but that's not a 100% statement. This thing was real, and under certain circumstances, depending on the length of exposure and the proximity to the exposure and the ventilation in the room, are you just getting bombarded by this or not? You could say I've got a vested interest in finding out what happened to my brother, but from the personal attacks that have been levied directly at me and the new American media for discussing health and vaccines and COVID and perhaps the greatest atrocity committed on humanity. Look at the raw numbers of those dead and disabled, long-term, short-term, from both the thing that China released from the Wuhan lab, the one that Fauci allegedly funded through gain of function. Allegedly, you know about that, right? That might be the biggest bioweapons attack, the greatest loss of life by releasing that demon, that thing upon the earth. So no, I'm not going to forget that, and I'm not going to shut up about that, and I'm not going to be intimidated by that. But look at Instagram. Look at, out of all the stories I showed you, they're all generating, they're populating, they're pre-playing in that little screen. This one has been grayed out. Instagram Meta does not want you to see this story. I had to click it to get into it. Trump wants to know, was it brilliant or not? Show the public the great numbers that they showed him. But look, Meta, Instagram, hiding it from you. That's what they think of you. They hate you so much. They want so fewer of you You've had it too good for too long. Got to be replaced. We need new modern slaves and a lot fewer of them. Let's sneak a bunch of vulnerable people into every country and then just get rid of their native population somehow. And by the way, when you try to discuss the story of what was this biological attack foisted upon us by China, Instagram blocks out the story, case in point. So thank you for following me. But let me take this moment to ask you to follow the New American Media in all of the other places. We'll send out carrier pigeons if we have to. The New American Media exists on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. We're at the New American Media. We're on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_media_. And please subscribe to our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show, on Spotify and Apple. All scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Additionally, thank you to everybody in our Patreon group. We sincerely appreciate you helping with the program and the company and all of the things that go along with it. Thank you. If anyone would like to subscribe to Patreon, it's right there. Go on Patreon and search The New American Media. You can sign up. Different levels. Some of you have a little bit more money than time. I'm trying to dedicate all my time, but, everybody else wants bill money from me. So I need to convert my time into money to give them the bills. So thank you to everybody who's taken a little bit of time to toss some tips in the tip jar. I've been a bartender, Brian the bartender, for a long period of my life. And so I've relied on the kindness of tip jars for a long time. So thank you to all of our Patreon members. That's particularly great because it goes right in to the account, and it's like clockwork. It's a monthly deposit. It's super set it and forget it. That's awesome. And also just the tip jar of Venmo and Cash App. My name, Brian Engelman, or on PayPal. You just enter the email address fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. That's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. All that stuff tossed in the tip jar keeps me going. It's like you go to the zoo and you put a quarter in that thing and you get a handful of grain and you're like, here you go. Wouldn't you like some of that? Hey, peacock. Hey, Mr. Giraffe, would you like a carrot? I just bought a carrot from the vending machine. I put a couple bucks in and I got a carrot. Would you like a carrot? I would like a carrot. So thank you all for tossing stuff into our tip jar as well. But follow us in all the places because look, you could show up. I know most of you come here from YouTube, but we are actually monetized on Rumble. I like the Rumble platform. It's growing a little bit. I wish we could break through a little faster, but it is what it is. But I'm super grateful to be able to put my content on Rumble without fear that it's going to be shadow banned, hidden. And it's all monetized. If you let an advertisement play there, it's like tossing a penny in the wishing well, like a literal penny. But all those pennies add up. A couple bucks here, a couple bucks there, a couple days here, a couple weeks there, a couple months here. It all helps because there's a stack of things that people want from me to just keep all of these programs up and running. So thank you sincerely, but follow us in all the spaces because Instagram right here, graying out our material. YouTube could do it next. We could apply for monetization and they could zap our channel. I actually sent them a message, said, hey, our numbers are up. We're going to clear this threshold. Could you we used to be monetized. We're cranking out consistent content. Can you just monetize us? They gave us the first hard strike of our 14-year career on YouTube. First hard strike ever on some bullshit, by the way. Vaguely undefined bullshit too. So I'm not holding my breath, but I'm at least doing what I can to cross the threshold and reapply. But Instagram graying out the most important story of the day where Trump is questioning whether warp speed was a tremendous success or he's been duped. It takes a lot of balls to do that. It takes a lot of guts. All right. This is Lee Strobel, shared by the Jay Plemons account, talking to Tucker Carlson. If Satan were smart.
If Satan were smart.
That reminds me of, who is that? If I were the devil. Do you remember that If I Were the Devil compilation? Was it Harvey? What was it? And I'm Paul Harvey, maybe. Also, there's a good question. Do you believe that Satan is real? Or is it just kind of symbolic?
Which he is.
Well, he says he is real.
Would he go around the country and around the world trying to possess or bother average, everyday people? Well, you know what? Much more efficient to go to Hollywood and to influence a bunch of people there who are very influential in, let's say, the entertainment industry. And let's say he encourages them to create films and television shows that are funny and that are creative and are fun, but there's an underlying message to them, that there's a normalization of immoral activity that makes it normal. Because, you know, when we laugh, it opens us up to various possibilities. When we laugh, our defenses come down. So I'm thinking of a wonderful, funny TV show like Friends. Remember Friends, the TV show? It was on TV for years. Very popular show.
Only American who never saw it, but yeah.
But underlying that is a very ugly sexual ethic that normalizes multiple sexual partners and that sort of thing. The kind of thing that Satan would love to inculcate into American culture. And you know what? I think it's much more efficient for Satan to influence movie makers and TV makers in Hollywood to create products that feed us stuff that, without us even realizing it, open us up to the occult, open us up to immoral activity, normalize it in ways that, well, if Monica can do that on Friends, I can certainly have sex on the first date with this guy I meet.
So the way I, as a non-theological, ignorant person, try and figure out whether something's good or bad, because it is an open question very often. It's like, is that good or bad? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Are the people doing it at peace and joyful, happy?
Yeah.
Are they tormented?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of people I like, actually. Not too many happy people.
Yeah.
Some really tormented people.
It's true.
For real.
Yeah.
String of wrecked relationships, kids who hate them, trans kids, drug problems. Like, there's so much of that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a fair way to assess?
I think because it is logical that if Satan were to try to influence a culture in a mass way, that is a logical way that he would do it. And, oh, guess what? By the way, look at all the dysfunction we see in that community. It does seem to match up.
So if evil is acting through you, you are harmed too.
Generally, I would say yes. You're going to be someone who's trying to influence others. You may not realize the full reasons why.
But it destroys you.
Yeah, it does destroy you.
It certainly seems to.
Yeah, I think so. Who would, God created us so we could have a relationship with him. So he taught us how we can live in a way that maximizes who we are. And when we stray from that in egregious ways, as many people have and do, there are implications for us. If Satan were smart, which he is.
Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. If Satan were smart, which he is. I was asking if he's real. Yeah, having lived in Los Angeles for many years, it was an interesting place for sure. You got to see behind the curtains at a lot of stuff. And also being a bartender, like I'm going to events from one side and then I'm also behind the scenes at other things. Yeah, we've sort of lost our way a little bit, but like I think what Lee Strobel was saying is like the path that we should be aiming at is the one that maximizes our potential. I think. And that starts and stops with good decisions. All right, here's Peter Navarro, shared from the Chief Nerd account. President Trump, was he told the truth or not?
Fauci, when he was sitting there, that SOB knew for a fact that virus came from the Wuhan lab. He knew that because he had funded the gain-of-function research in that lab, and he had already begun to design a cover-up. And we know that from the emails he sent to a group of researchers, academics, trying to get their support to push that come-from-nature theory. And that's the biggest lie of omission in American history, because if he had simply owned up to the fact that that thing came from the lab, we could have pressured the Chinese to give us the genome sequence, which would have allowed us to design an effective vaccine rather than the crap we wound up getting.
They didn't give us the data, so we were in the dark and had to guess. I mean, that's an absolute act of war. This is when this is the day Peter Navarro was let out of prison. This is in Milwaukee at the Republican convention last year.
But this election is going to turn out.
Ah, there's music in the background.
In 100 days of count.
I'll mute it because there's music in the background. But here, I'll share this out. Here's the video we played on today's episode of the TNAM Daily Show. So you can check it out here in full. And Peter Navarro was being interviewed by one of the guys from Fox, and we happened to be there, and so we jumped right in. All right. Let's go back to Peter Navarro. Yeah, China didn't give us the stuff, and Fauci didn't give us the stuff, and we could have used that for a lot of good, but instead they had to sell things. They had to make a lot of money, and they had to destroy the competition, which was hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, vitamin C, D, zinc, all sorts of other competing theories, the Merck protocols. They said, nope, there's a one-size-fits-all approach, and if you don't accept that, then there's something wrong with you, and you deserve to lose your job and your family, and you deserve to be put in the ground forever. And it's like, you have no right to determine what choices we make. I think there should be a pharmaceutical option if people want to take that path. Good, go for it. And if people don't want to take it, leave them alone. But instead, that's not what happened. So they lied to Trump.
And again, Trump got lied to about that, not just by Fauci, but by Pfizer, the drug company.
In what way?
They didn't disclose the side effects of that. And they weren't clear with him. They made him think that it was a true vaccine when it's not.
Remember when in the midst of all this stuff, it started coming out, well, look, they're going to officially change the terminology for the word vaccine. It's going to mean different things now. Oh, it is? By the way, at the bottom of the screen, for countervailing views on health and elections, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control. I tell you this under duress so that your countervailing views can tell you whatever Fauci and them told you a couple years ago. Even if we don't seem to feel that way today, or if history hasn't been so kind to those lies, go get countervailing views, would you?
It's mRNA technology. And
and by the way, I keep saying this. I'm not going. I'm the weird example. And my mom, she, there may have been pre-existing conditions, but my brother, I mean, he was under 40 years old. He was healthy. Didn't make sense, except that he got a very large dose in a very tight, constrained area. We think. It's hard to tell exactly where it came from, but sort of like the outlier. Yeah. So there's like general thoughts on it, and then the specifics of it can get a little in the weeds, but
I worked with a guy named Dr. Robert Malone. You have him on the show sometime.
We had him.
Yeah. It's like the way I mean, Malone was out there beforehand, but I had him on Steve Bannon's War Room when I was guest hosting. He sat kind of like you and me are sitting, Patrick, and we talked about all this and wound up writing a 3-part series in the Washington Times about how the universal vax policy would basically spawn mutations that would be more lethal Oh, you don't have to get too much in that. But my point is that day, that January 28th day, was a very significant one, overlooked in the history of the pandemic and in American history. Fauci, when he was sitting there,
the beginning of it,
that SOB knew for a fact that virus came from.
Indict Fauci button. All right. So, do you take your 40 pieces of silver and betray your friends, or do you defend your country and defend your friends? Raging Europe says British landlords are now coming out to declare they will not house illegal aliens despite dirty bribes from the Labour Party. The man refuses to betray his nation. Take a listen.
To give you 5 years guaranteed fixed rent, all the bills paid, and all of the maintenance taken care of for 5 years. That sounds great, doesn't it? I am not going to be participating in this scheme, folks, okay? I've got no desire to house illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants are costing the country, the UK taxpayer, £8 million per day. That's about £148 per person. I'm keeping my houses for people that have the right to rent in the UK, for people that are like the tenants we have in this property. I'm not going to sell my soul. We've got to do things here that are morally correct, and I will not be participating in this scheme. To give you 5 years guaranteed fixed rent,
They're bribing
all the bills
these
paid.
hotels. They're bribing all sorts of people with unlimited money if you just go along with it. It's very specific. It's very coordinated. It's not some sort of crisis. It's their plan. It's the Obama doctrine. All right, let's look in on the shooters. We can't lose track of the fact that Christian people and Christian facilities have been subject to a drastic increase in attacks. You're seeing a holy war waging as Sharia is trying to go into all of the sovereign nations of Europe, going into Michigan, going into Minnesota, going into Texas, trying to say that this is our place now. We're going to outbreed you. We've played you these videos over the past several days, several weeks, several months. So Christian churches have been attacked. And then what percentage of those people, of those attacks, have been done by people in the gender dysphoria community? People suffering from gender dysphoria. And so CNN has Sebastian Gorka on, and she kind of frames it one way, and it just kind of, there's lies, damned lies in statistics. You can use statistics to prove almost anything, as Homer Simpson said. 14% of people know that.
So let me ask you about this.
But yeah, as we're thinking about that church massacre in Minneapolis, they're talking about the person that perpetrated that act. And by the way, Rosie O'Donnell came out and had the complete opposite opinion, tried to call that shooter MAGA. I think she just released an apology, or let me clarify, or I was wrong. It's like, oh, were you now?
96% of attackers when you're looking at the U.S. Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center, looking at 172 mass attacks in the U.S. between 2016 and 2020, 96% were non-trans men.
And by the way, that goes back to 2020. Let's see in the past 5.5 years.
So I know you're focusing on this shooter being trans. The shooter was trans, and that is certainly of note. But are you missing the bigger picture here when you zero in on that instead of more broadly these school shooters as an epidemic, and you perhaps miss the through line that connects them all?
Well, no, because your facts obfuscate two things. You are using data based upon the predominant gun violence, which is gang-on-gang violence with zero ideological content.
Yeah. And so when you get into the statistics, most of the statistics are two things. It's someone doing a bad thing to themselves, which is tragic on a whole level, worthy of discussion and assistance. But there's also just the wanton, reckless carelessness disregard for human life that occurs because of the gang violence. That's where you want to talk about the statistics. That's where most of those statistics are coming from, which is a totally different type of problem. So pull that out of the equation. That one has nothing to do with the other.
If you remove all of that, the gang violence on the streets of Chicago, LA, Detroit, then you come down to a much smaller data set. So it's like those who say, gun violence in America causes so many deaths, and then fail to note that the majority of the stats they are using refer to also suicides by gun, which of course is not what we are talking about here today. So let's concentrate on mass shootings at schools, specifically Christian or Catholic schools. Then the data set is wholly different. So don't conflate different data sets just to make a political point. There was an ideological content to this attack. That's what terrorism is. It's not because somebody didn't get the drug deal they wanted. It is an ideological message, whether it was anti-Israel, as in this case, whether it targeted President Trump in its rhetoric, as we saw on one of the magazines written by the perpetrator on that YouTube video, or whether we saw the fact that it was anti-Christian and targeting children. That has nothing to do with gang violence. Let's not mix the two things up.
Okay, so let me ask you about this.
That was very well said. But we also said, what are the numbers and percentages of attacks on the past 5.5 years? CNN posted stats from more than half a decade ago. She said from 2016 to 2020. Well, we know that things have been ramped up dramatically in the media, really pushing as much of this as fast as they can. Let's look over the past 5.5 years, I think. That was a good reframe. Elon used to run Tesla, right? Did he move everything to Texas? I think that's the latest. He took Twitter out, and Twitter's in Austin now, I think so. But Elon knows about California, talking with Joe Rogan about it.
Borderline illegal to be a Republican in California. In San Francisco or LA, it's borderline illegal to be a Republican.
You're certainly shunned.
No, in like San Francisco, you could shoot heroin while taking a dump on the mayor's car in front of City Hall, okay, and nothing would happen to you. But if you walk down the street with a MAGA hat, you're gonna get attacked.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's also so Orwellian that a hat that says "Make America Great Again" would cause people to have a violent reaction. Like, aren't you American? Wouldn't just as a whole, like the saying, wouldn't that be a good thing for everyone? Make America great again. Yes. But because it's attached to Donald Trump and that red hat, you'll get maced for wearing that red hat. They will make America worse by beating you. So it's like it's an evil thing they're doing, a violent assault in America because you want to make America great again. I mean, it's like a scene in a book. It doesn't seem like it could be that ridiculous. Like, remember when All Lives Matter would get you fired?
It's borderline.
Yeah. That's some good perspective. Here's a smug Trump protester in D.C., but he doesn't know how bad things are in England. He doesn't understand the concept of what's going on right now and why it matters. New York Post reporting UK free speech crackdown sees up to 30 people a day arrested for petty offenses such as retweeting and cartoons.
Oh, there's literally hundreds of people going to jail. Hold on a second. In England. Did you really not know?
This is Fabian Garcia, shared from that account.
Don't know. Are you able to criticize the illegal immigration in England on social media?
Yes, you are. No, you can't, dude. You don't know this?
It seems like you don't know this.
So no one has tweeted about. First of all, relax. I get it, but I need to finish the sentence.
Wait, so nobody's criticized anything? Stop it. That's not what people are saying. Just moving the goalposts. It's really Lucy from Peanuts.
Yeah, sure. You should really look into this. It's really fucked up what they're doing. Okay, sure. I'm being honest right here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, if you don't know, this is a really big thing. People are going to prison every single day. You may not know about it.
Wow.
But you can look it up.
Hundreds.
Yeah. I mean, you could be like, you could be satirical.
It helps to get out of the social bubble and to actually see what is going on in places that you may disagree.
Over how long of a time
It's
period?
been years that people have been going down.
How many people are in jail? Hundreds of thousands?
Brother, if you want to dispute me, you can, but all you have to do is go online and check it. It's very easy.
So you're saying
because all this is not doing anything.
I'm aware.
We are both telling you something's happened. You can easily
It's not
look
true.
it up.
It's just not true.
The last measure that
it's not true. It's not true. I said well, I told you what I said about the peanuts.
saw metric, over 10,000 people have been arrested. I don't want to talk about this for 10 more minutes because you're rejecting the premise. If you could just simply look on your phone, you would find hundreds of instances, hundreds of videos, and then you would actually know the truth. And that's the problem I was saying, man. When you only listen to one side and you don't think critically, you say everything I've heard has to be absolutely true. That's when you're brainwashed. Bro, there's literally.
That's when you're brainwashed. Actually. That's when you're brainwashed, button. That's the comment I'm leaving there. Didn't really seem to understand that. Roseanne Barr fighting to save America. Fun 3-minute interview. She says she used to be a libtard and particularly not too thrilled with Uncle Ted Nugent, but she sort of spun around after that. It's a good interview worth watching. Check in on Chicago, 54 shots. 7 have been permanently ended in Chicago during a weekend bloodbath after Pritzker claims that Trump and the National Guard are not needed. Why doesn't he care about the people of his city? Can anybody answer these questions? Brainwashed genes. Yeah. It's a 6-minute clip, but they're saying maybe Ted Cruz can have uncovered a hidden scandal that could invalidate every Biden pardon. Yeah, and it really was a propped up fake president. Staffers behind the scenes were pulling the strings and running the government. And they don't have the right to issue pardons. It was a little too outsourced. And we saw it by the June 24 debate. All right, let's check in on InfoWars. Owen Schroyer is no more. Owen Schroyer has resigned from InfoWars, alleging Alex Jones was pressuring him to back off of criticism of Trump and be less of a pessimist. Hey, you know what? Look, why couldn't an employer be like, come on, man, like there's like 100 wins and you're being really negative. I know a lot of people in the media space that are very negative. Look, I have issues that'll set me off. I have topics that will elicit a fiery and animated response from me. But am I trying to be optimistic? I'm trying to. Do I always feel like being that way? No, and I try to be honest with that. But I think there's a ton of pessimistic stuff out there. Things that like don't really deserve to be headlines. And especially with the hundreds or thousands of successes, I'm just so appreciative that we've fixed so many things in this amount of time so far that I just kind of want to roll with that, stay with that, stick with that for now. I don't know. It is easy for people to end up locked in on the pessimism. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Alex Jones says not true. If you care for such things. Alex says Owen has wanted to go for a while. He told me he was quitting yesterday afternoon. He told me if I needed him another week, he would do it. And I said, no, it's that simple. I built InfoWars, he says, to be a radio talk show on TV. The office is a newsroom. So when big stuff would break, I and others would bring stuff to the show producers. That's as far as me standing over his shoulder went, except maybe twice a month walking onto the show. That's what we've always done on all the shows, including mine. I've known Owen for over 9 years and loved the guy. That said, when I started to watch what he said last night online, it was sad, and I stopped. I wish Owen the best for his life and the great work he does fighting evil and promoting freedom. I never censored him and agreed with 99% of what I saw him talk about. I only encouraged him to be more positive in general about the fact that humanity has come a long way in the Great Awakening. Bottom line, he wants to be his own captain, and I think that's great. I'm surprised by the censorship claim he is hinting at, but if he thinks he needs to say that to build his show, that will be on him. As for me, I'm taking the high road and will continue to promote Owen when I see cool stuff he does. Godspeed to Owen. Oh, there you have it. A big name after 9 years. Moving on. This gentleman here is saying things have gone from bad to worse. It's impossible to feel safe in a city like this with leadership in Chicago. Kids are wreaking havoc in all the neighborhoods. He says, we didn't play with guns. We didn't listen to drill rap music, all this at this young age. Like, these kids are carrying guns, all ages, 8 years old, and they're offing each other. Little kids, man. It's insane to me. Chicago needs help. Miss Muckraker has a few stories to share. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy thanked President Trump after he said Operation Warp Speed may not have been a success. Trump got lied to. I shared that. Low birth rate is the #1 threat to the West, followed closely by migration. There will be no West if this continues. Captive Dreamer says replacement migration is the greatest threat the entire West currently faces. There's a Boston Imam Abdullah Farouk saying, quote, what's wrong with you? Sick white Americans. Go back to Europe. Okay, so this guy's in Boston telling white Americans to go to Europe because you've done nothing but cause hell in this country and all over the world. Wow. This is the land of the coward and home of the slave. Without Islam, America will meet its demise. And people are calling for this guy to be deported. Muslim migrants in Germany, according to Dr. Malouf, says when we become the majority, we will take over Germany by force. German laws will be replaced by Sharia law. If anyone stands against us, we will attack them. Christians and Jews will have to convert or leave. They mean every word that they say. Here's the migrant population, 1990 versus 2024. It appears everything is up. U.S. went from 8 to 15%. That's just, you want to scan for the best and brightest, just like college. You filter for talent and skill and qualifications and people that can improve our country. That's great. Just to open the door and let anybody come in for any reason, that just... Wall Street Ape says, I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is what it's like to zoom into Los Angeles, California, and view all the Muslim mosques and Islam centers. Islam is government. It commands taking over governments and implementing Sharia law. Why are we allowing this to spread in America, says Wall Street Apes. Alexander Duncan says Minneapolis has completely fallen to Islam. Minneapolis becomes the first major U.S. city to broadcast the Islamic call to prayer 5 times a day. That's reported on CBS? Could that possibly be true? I mean, that's just a show of force and intimidation. That blocking streets and doing that loudly, publicly every day. That's just a big middle finger to people that feel differently than you. British Patriot said protests erupt in Japan, demanding the deportation of all illegal immigrants from Australia to Europe to Japan. Citizens are uniting for remigration, and the globalist agenda is crumbling. Dragon Ball Z police chief. Libs of TikTok says, this is a police chief in the UK who will arrest you for memes. Open borders. No fat chicks, though. This is our no homers club. But you have a homer. Yeah, he's one homer. You can't have more than one. No homers. Bye. Here's the police chief in the UK who will arrest you for memes. Not kidding. Rachel Swan. End Wokeness says, wow, there it is. Democrats Project 2029. They want 52 states with DC and Puerto Rico. They want to abolish the Electoral College. Well, this sounds like an overthrow. They want to pack the Supreme Court. Okay, that means overthrowing the Supreme Court. And then number 4, do whatever we want. Wall Street Ape says a court-ordered audit of California homeless spending reveals billions missing and zero accountability. California's been giving out money to NGOs with no signed contracts, no terms for services to be provided, straight money laundering. We knew something was going wrong with the homeless system in LA. The court made this audit report public, and it's damning. LA Homeless Services Authority, complete disarray in terms of how they're managing the homeless services. Auditors had such a difficult time getting information, they couldn't even figure out the total budget. They estimated the amount of services that they were able to really review was about $2.3 billion. There's more, but they can't find it. They would ask about the city of Los Angeles budget and who they contract with, and all these pointed to LAHSA, the homelessness coordinator for the region. The city has no real way to determine how much money they spend on homelessness services or to hold them accountable. City is paying for empty beds when people are going homeless on the streets. It's really a problem. Well, the problem is that most of the people on the streets are drug addicts that need to be detoxed, or they're mentally ill or physically ill. If they're physically ill, we need to look, if you've become so destitute that you are just sick and you're on the street, I think we need to have some basic services. We should all chip in a couple pennies out of our paycheck to help the severely destitute and put up a legitimate facility to help the least amongst us. Can't we try something like that? But there are people that are committing crimes that need to be in jail. The junkies need to be dried out, rehab, and the mentally ill need to be committed. That's it. That's how you fix homelessness. Miss Muckraker says, Democrats are beginning to allege that President Trump is not running the country due to speculation about his health. Like, so ironic to me. Actually, let me check. When was the last President Trump sighting? So Trump has been sort of off. Spotted yesterday, returning to the White House from a day at his Trump National Golf Club in Sterling, Virginia. Remember, he had a secret meeting with Bill Gates, too. Maybe there's other stuff happening. He's trying to negotiate an end to 2 world wars. So, you know. They're not world wars, they're regional wars. Yeah, well, we're all so interconnected, anyone could spiral into a world war. Again on September 1st, posted an undated photo of himself at the club with former football coach John Gruden. These appearances followed a period of speculation about his whereabouts due to lack of public events from August 27 to 29. Gavin Newsom says ICE showing up to polling booths is going to scare away voters. Why would any legal voter be scared away by ICE agents at the polling places? Number one thing you need for eligibility is you have to be a citizen of America to vote. Also seems very ironic to me. Breaking, Indian travel to the United States dropped 8% in June. First decline in over 2 decades per Economic Times. Wow. President Trump said, what few people understand is that we do very little business with India, but they do a tremendous amount of business with us. In other words, they sell us massive amounts of goods, their biggest client, but we sell them very little. Until now, a totally one-sided relationship, and it has been for many decades. The reason is that India has charged us, until now, such high tariffs, the most of any country, that our businesses are unable to sell into India. It has been a totally one-sided disaster. Also, India buys most of its oil and military products from Russia, very little from the U.S. They have now offered to cut their tariffs to nothing, but it's getting late. They should have done so years ago. Just some simple facts for people to ponder. President Trump says 54 shot in Chicago, 8 people terminated. Last 2 weekends were similar. Chicago is the worst and most dangerous city in the world by far. Pritzker needs help badly. He just doesn't know it yet. I will solve the crime problem fast, just like I did in D.C. Chicago will be safe again and soon make America great again. More Chicago talk. Morning, Joe.
Concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this. As you say, we've been reading about this for years now. Every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my. You can do that in D.C. You can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These.
Wow. Did you think you'd be hearing this from Morning Joe?
These are the most dangerous parts of my.
You're finally seeing common sense people say, crime. I'm actually against crime. I thought Democrats told me I should be for crime, but maybe I should be against it.
My state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together to save lives. Because right now, hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. We'll protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. It would be radical for us to figure out a way to actually do what I've been saying from the very beginning on Washington, and that is seeing politicians creating partnerships that protect their people. Yeah. The concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this issue.
Yeah. Yeah, and Chicago has some of the strictest. Yeah, and Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. That doesn't work. You need the innocent people to be able to defend themselves. Hey, we told you about the Polish CEO. He's now apologized after snatching a hat from a young fan at the U.S. Open. Piotr Cezarek admitted to a serious mistake. He said, I was convinced that the tennis player was passing the cap to me. Like a pig at the trough. I mean, if you just look at the guy, the hat comes off, there's no eye contact made. It was just offered up and he grabbed it fast. So I don't know. He runs a paving stone company. His Google rating collapsed to 1.3 stars, thousands of furious reviews. I don't know. The Google rating and doing that doesn't have, I don't know. One thing doesn't really have to do with the other. How should you be able to rank someone's quality of work based on an event that occurred at a sporting match? Hey, maybe you've been in a sporting match and you've or someone you've known is maybe celebrated or vented in a less than honorable way at our highest of highs or lowest of lows. So there before the grace of God go I, but I don't know. He didn't even make eye contact. I'm gonna type that. He didn't even make eye contact with anyone in particular, though. Just saying. I don't know. Don't make me defend this guy, but I just don't see it as the end of the world. Let the guy move on. Hey, Democrats are convinced they can win back millions of lost voters. You want to know how?
Took back what he stole from us. Took it back, took back our dignity.
Hey, nothing cringe about this, right? Makes you want to go out and vote Democrat.
Took it back.
Maybe YouTube is going to take this down for copyright.
Our humanity. Well, we went down to the rich.
There you go. Cringe and cope harder, Dems. Cringe and cope. That'll make you vote Democrat, won't it? I told you about Rosie O'Donnell. Here she is.
Hi, everybody. It's Rosie O'Donnell.
There's music. Star of the Flintstones. A lot of you were very upset about the video I made before I went away for a few days. I didn't go online till now, but today, but you're right. I didn't do my due diligence before I made that emotional statement. I said things about the shooter in Minneapolis that were incorrect. I assumed, like most shooters, they followed a standard MO. Well, that's bullshit. It's not an apology anymore. Feelings of NRA-loving kind of gun people. Yeah. I'm going to type, you see, Rosie? The thing about NRA gun-loving people is that they are largely peaceful and law-abiding. Don't slander that group. Your apology went sideways when you started spewing that nonsense. Just stop.
11 kind of gun.
She messed up, and when you mess up, you fess up. She says she's sorry. Yeah, she said she's sorry with a whole bunch of other fucked up shit in it. Trying to say NRA people are violent sociopaths who shoot up places in a mass way. Like, NRA people are some of the most respectful, law-abiding people out there because they'll get a concealed carry permit. They'll take training and courses. They try to be as responsible as possible. Don't slander that whole group. That's not an apology if you're going to drop that stuff. She says, oh, what do you know? It's a white guy, a MAGA person. What do you know? That was what she initially said.
Supremacist.
Oh, yeah, white supremacist. Wimpy white, Rosie O'Donnell.
It's happened since Columbine.
Nothing has happened since Columbine. Million Mom March, nothing. Yeah, that wasn't really an apology. Apology not accepted. This is a thread, right? About Antonin Scalia. WikiLeaks released Podesta emails and he implicated himself. Allegedly discussing wet work, which is an agency term for assassination. Don't think wet works meant pool parties at the vineyard. Didn't think wet works meant pool parties at the vineyard. Owner of the ranch where Scalia was found, meeting with Obama. The Constitution is not a living organism, it is a legal document, and it says what it says, and it doesn't say what it doesn't say, says Antonin Scalia. CNN said skipping Scalia autopsy spawns conspiracy theories in 2016. The stories that maybe there was a pillow over his face, no autopsy, no investigations. They thought Hillary would get the Supreme Court pick. Yeah, no autopsy of a Supreme Court justice being found gone on a property that's not his is in and of itself incredibly revealing. Another comment. Yeah, I remember this in the news for about 5 minutes. Helen Dale says, here's your periodic reminder that liberal feminism is vacuous utopian brain rot. Any woman who endorses it publicly can safely be assumed to be a diversity hire. Prominent UK women tell right-wingers stop linking immigration to SA. Oh, yeah. Don't link the invasion of your country to our women and children being abused. There's a theory here. I'll let you take a look. Alex Jones, in the 17th letter of the alphabet, operations, asked to jump in, Epstein, corruption. Alex Bastionons, but then came forward and admits Trump insiders created Q. I don't know about that. Read this and tell me if you agree or disagree. It's just interesting because so many people talk about it. And then right here, they're discussing the attack on Trump. FBI agent Walter Giardina. We are back to Peter Navarro. Check this clip out. And that's what I wanted to share with you on our Instagram feed today. That's where I'm going to wrap the show because I am going to get ready for Strictly Football this evening. Come back and join us at 6 p.m. Eastern, about 4 hours from now. And we're going to talk football with Mike Barra. Jim Mitchell said he might be late. Maybe I'll have Ezrael Robinson in, and we're going to talk about the upcoming season. Super excited for it. Thank you all for watching today. We'll be back again tomorrow at noon. And until then, I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace out.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.